What's up guys, it's KY Not Guy the Creative, and today I'm going to give you my first impressions on two cinema lenses that I have recently picked up, which is the Meike T2.1 35mm lens and the Meike 85mm T2.1 millimeter lens. Now without further ado, we're going to make this kind of quick and we're going to get right into the video. So, why do I even want cinema primes in the first place? I've been doing a lot of research and finding what my next lenses are going to be in my kit. I started playing around with a lot of lenses, finding the focal lengths that I liked, and I wanted to buy those in the prime version. Now, I had just shot a longer form documentary style video out in BC, and on my Canon 35mm lens, I found there was a lot of chromatic aberration. It was a little bit sharp, the bokeh was a little bit sharper, and as much as the images looked really good, I felt like there was something missing in the lenses that I had. So I started taking a look at some of the cinema lenses as they were recommended to me. I started doing a lot of research in terms of videos that were out there on YouTube, and there's a bunch of different brands that are offering lenses in the cinema prime quality that are really, really affordable, which brought me to these Meike lenses. Not only are they cheap, but I think they punch well above their weight class. Now, we're gonna talk about the aesthetics first. We're gonna go into some test footage, and we're actually gonna talk about what my thoughts are on my first look with this lens, because it is only the first time I've shot with them. Now, right off the bat, cinema lenses look different than your photography lenses. They have something called gears on them. And the reason why they have gears on them is so when you have a follow focusing system, whether it be wireless or wired, you can actually hook them up to the gears that are on there. So it has these ridges that are right here. Now, what's different than photography lenses is that these actually have a focus ring for your feet and your meters, which is a little bit interesting. They're bright neon, so you can never miss them. But what's actually really different is this T-stop aperture manual focus ring. Now, I wish it had a better name, or I just probably wish I called it something a little bit better. But when you have your manual aperture, when you're going from light to dark places, it's very easy to have a smooth transition from one to the other. In photography lenses, you don't get that. Now, the caveat to that is you can't change your f-stop in camera, you have to do it on your lens. But what happens with T-stops is different than f-stops, is that you get a very accurate reading on your exposure. So if I go from this lens to this lens at the same aperture, you're gonna get the same exposure, where f-stops is more of an approximation. So it kind of guesstimates within some form of reason. So if I use f1.8 on one lens and f1.8 on another lens, you might get different exposures at the same time. So T-stops, a little bit more accurate. Cinema gears is great when you're using follow focusing systems, and manual aperture is awesome when you want to go from light to dark, or you just want smoother transitions in your exposure. Now, what I'm also going to mention about these lenses is that they're built very, very well. They feel like high quality cinema lenses. They're made with metal housing. They have the gears that are on them. They have the markings that are on them. What's really cool is it has feet and meters, so however you measure distance is great on there as well. They have these two like cool caps that are on there. I don't even know why. That's not super important, but I feel like a real DP when my focal lengths are on my lens caps, and it also just makes it easier when I have to switch between lenses. Now, another cool thing with this guy, if you do have some photography ND filters or any filters of any kind that are 82mm or 77, and you have step up and step down rings, this element is actually 82mm, which is really cool because you don't have to look at specialty filters. You don't have to get the big matte box ones if you don't want to. I have a couple, but if you don't want to do that, you can still make these work, which is really cool as well. So it doesn't infringe upon the filter choices that you may pick in your kit. So we've gone through some of the aesthetics in my first look aesthetically, what they look like, and they look really, really good. So just based on look alone, these are great looking and feeling lenses, but I'm sure you guys didn't come for that. You guys want to see some test footage with this and see some comparisons. You want to see what I think about this lens and whether or not I'd recommend it. So we're gonna roll some test footage.
Mother lover, you gon' love this. Graduated from a rebel to a revolutionary in my area, they love this. I'ma wreck it like I'm revving the engine, heaven's ascension, every dimension, give me attention. Look at my soul, look at my heart, look at my hope. Got the world on my back, but I carry it though. Tell him God got my hand, I ain't letting it go. I came from the side of the ocean. Swim with the best of them, I can't deny I was chosen. Yeah, it's the Miggity Mac.
All right, so that was just a couple clips that I got. I had to get this on short notice because I wanted to get this video out. But my first impressions of these lenses is they are amazing on saturation. I found that the images had a lot better coloring than some of the Canon lenses I've used, or some of the other lenses I've really used on my C200. These lenses have really good saturation. Now, I will say they tilt a little bit on the green side of things, where some of my Canons are a little bit more on the blue. And when you see the side-by-side, you can tell that right away. All you have to do is color grade that or just get your proper white balance and you're good to go. But what I did notice for this is two things. It has a really good highlight roll-off. So when I put things near bright sources or have things with those highlights in the background, it's transitioned back into the image from your highlights to your midtones to your shadows is nice and soft, where when I'm using photography lenses to shoot things, I get that really over-sharpened, like clinically clean look, which sometimes doesn't work the best. So these lenses have a nice highlight roll off, and it's not soft in terms of like its detail or it's lacking any detail, but it doesn't look overdone, it doesn't look over sharp, it doesn't give you that overly clinical look that you'll find in photography lenses that people talk about a lot. Now, another thing I'm going to mention on these lenses is what's a little bit different than some of the Canon lenses, the Canon primes that I've used, is the chromatic aberration control. Now, if you guys don't know what chromatic aberration is whenever you see the bright sides of an image or around the edges, there's some sort of color fringing in there. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's red. It could be a bunch of different colors. It's definitely not the color that you intended it to be. A lot of times, especially when it's purple. But with these guys, you still get a little bit of it, but it's much more controlled. And compared to the Canon 35mm lens that I had used in my kit and I have been using for a long time, I found the image quality was much better in the Meike lens, even though it costed a little bit less. So there's that point. If you guys want to debate that in the comments, you can go ahead. But I did actually match the f-stops to these guys, or I used f1.8 on the Canon 35mm, and I used T2.1 on the 35mm on my Meike lens because I did notice there was a lot better chromatic aberration control on the Meike lenses. But all in all, these lenses are great. I think my first look at this is, it's a little bit rushed through. I've only really shot it once, but my first impression of these lenses is that they are excellent. And if you are looking for an affordable kit of cinema prime lenses that you don't want to break the bank, you want to have multiple lenses for the price of maybe one lens that you would have bought from somewhere else, or a photography lens that would have cost $2,000, I would pick these two up. So we're going to talk about something that has been a topic of conversation for the last little bit, and it's whether or not you should even invest in cinema prime lenses. Now, a lot of the time with other companies, you'll find that cinema lenses are just repurposed glass into cinema bodies that have the gears and everything that's on them. These lenses, I'm going to be honest with you, with the Meike lens that I picked up, I was pleasantly surprised. These two lenses punch way above their weight class. When I was comparing the footage from my Canon lens to the Meike lens, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was really happy with the image quality and all of the things that came with it. As well as, to be honest, it looks really cool when you're on set. I'm just gonna say that right there. When you are on set and you're doing a high level budget commercial, or you're doing just work that you wanna look really good for, picking up a set of these guys look way cooler than your photography lenses, especially on my Canon C200 or a cinema camera as well. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Now, how dope does that look when you have everything kind of set up in this nice big cinema rig package? It looks really dope when you're on set and your clients feel like they've spent the amount of money and it's been put to good use, which is always awesome. I'm gonna put this down. So what I will say is client perception isn't everything. You shouldn't be buying lenses just to look good. You shouldn't be buying gear just to look good. But I think after this first look at these lenses pitted against my other ones, I do really like what the image that this guy produces. I'm really happy with how it looks. I'm really happy with its quality, and I'm actually really happy with the price. I was gonna go and buy another set of lenses that were gonna cost as much, or if not more, than buying two of these for just one of them. So I'm pretty pleasantly surprised, and I'm pretty happy about the results that I've been getting from these Meike lenses. Now, that all to be said, if you like this video, make sure you comment down below and tell me what lens that you've been looking at, what lenses that you've been kind of eyeing down in terms of either cinema lenses or photography lenses as well. And if you want to see more test footage, make sure you leave a comment there as well. Make sure you like and subscribe. And this is the end of the video. And I don't have an outro. I actually don't even have an intro. But this is KY, not Kai the Creative. I'm signing out. Peace.